than 180 days, they used to know how to party back then, he displayed the vast riches of his kingdom and the splendid glory of his majesty. At the end of this period, the king gave a banquet for 7 days in the court of the king's palace garden for all the people who lived in the fortress Shushan, high and low alike. There were hangings of white cotton and blue wool, caught up by cords of fine linen and purple wool, to silver rods and alabaster columns. And there were couches of gold and silver on pavement of marble, alabaster, mother of pearl, and mosaics. Royal wine was served in abundance as befits a king. In golden beakers, beakers of varied design. Probably couldn't find that many in one style. And the rule for the drinking was no restrictions, for the king had given orders to every palace steward to comply with each man's wishes. In addition, Queen Vashti gave a banquet for the women in the royal palace of King Ahasuerus. On the 7th day, when the king was merry with wine, he ordered Mehuman, Bizetha, Harbona, Bigtha, Abagtha, Zethar, and Carcass, the 7 eunuchs in attendance of King Ahasuerus, to bring Queen Vashti before the king wearing a royal diadem, to display her beauty to the peoples and the officials, for she was a beautiful woman. And that's why you asked me to read this one, because of those names. But Queen Vashti refused to come at the king's command conveyed by the eunuchs. The king was greatly incensed, and his fury burned within him. Then the king consulted the sages, learned in procedure, for it was the royal practice to turn to all who were versed in law and precedent. His closest advisors were Karshena, Shethar, Admatha, Tarshish, Meres, Marsena, and Memucan, the 7 ministers of Persia and Media. It's okay. Who had access to the royal presence and occupied the first place in the kingdom. What, he asked, should be done in according to the law to Queen Vashti for failing to obey the command of King Ahasuerus conveyed by the eunuchs? Thereupon Memucan declared, in the presence of the king and the ministers, Queen Vashti has committed an offense, not only against your majesty, but also against all the officials and against the peoples and all the provinces of King Ahasuerus. For the queen's behavior will make wives despair their husbands, and they reflect what King Ahasuerus himself ordered Queen Vashti be brought to him, but she would not come. This very day, the ladies of Persia and Media who have heard of the queen's behavior will cite it to all your majesty's officials, and there will be no end to the scorn and provocation. That's right. If it please your majesty, let a royal edict be issued by you, and let it be written into the laws of Persia and Media, so that it cannot be abrogated, that Vashti shall never enter the presence of King Ahasuerus, and let your majesty bestow her royal state upon another who is more worthy than she. Then will the judgment executed by your majesty resound throughout your realm, vast though it is, and all wives will treat their husbands with respect, high and low alike. The proposal was approved by the king and the ministers, and the king did as Memucan proposed. Dispatches were sent to all the provinces of the king, to every province in its own script, to each nation in its own language, so that every man should wield authority in his home and speak the language of his own people.
Thank you, Richard. Next up, we have Elizabeth Lenz with Chapter 2. Hobbit, elf.
Sometime afterward, when the anger of King Ahasuerus subsided, he thought of Vashti and what she had done and what had been decreed against her. The king's servants who attended him said, "Let beautiful young women be sought out for your majesty. Let your majesty appoint officers in every province of your realm to assemble all the beautiful young women at the fortress Shushan. In the harem, under the supervision of Hegai, the king's eunuch, guardian of the women, let them be provided with their cosmetics, and let the maiden who pleases your majesty be queen instead of Vashti. The proposal pleased the king, and he acted upon it. In the fortress Shushan lived a Jew by the name of Mordecai, son of Jair, son of Shimei, son of Kish, a Benjaminite. Kish had been exiled from Jerusalem in the group that was carried into exile along with King Jeconiah of Judah, which had been driven into exile by King Nebuchadnezzar of Babylon. He was foster father to Hadassah, that is Esther, his uncle's daughter, for she had neither father nor mother. The maiden was shapely and beautiful. And when her father and mother died, Mordecai adopted her as his own daughter. When the king's order and edict was proclaimed, and when many girls were assembled in the fortress Shushan under the supervision of Hegai, Esther, too, was taken into the king's palace under the supervision of Hegai, guardian of the women. The girl pleased him and won his favor, and he hastened to furnish her with her cosmetics and her rations, as well as with the 7 maids who were her due from the king's palace, and he treated her and her maids with special kindness in the harem. Esther did not reveal her people or her kindred, for Mordecai had told her not to reveal it. Every single day, Mordecai would walk about in front of the court of the harem to learn how Esther was faring and what was happening to her. When each girl's turn came to go to King Ahasuerus at the end of the 12th month's treatment prescribed for women, for that was the period spent on beautifying them, 6 months with oil of myrrh and 6 months with perfumes and women's cosmetics. And it was after that that the girl would go to the king. Whatever she asked for would be given her to take with her from the harem to the king's palace. She would go in the evening and leave in the morning for a second harem in charge of Shashgaz, the king's eunuch, guardian of the concubines. She would not go again to the king unless the king wanted her, when she would be summoned by name. When the turn came for Esther, daughter of Abihail, the uncle of Mordecai, who had adopted her as his own daughter, to go to the king, she did not ask for anything but what Hegai, the king's eunuch, guardian of the women, advised. Yet Esther won the admiration of all who saw her. Esther was taken to King Ahasuerus in his royal palace in the 10th month, which is the month of Tebeth, in the 7th year of his reign. The king loved Esther more than all the other women, and she won his grace and favor more than all the young women. So he set a royal diadem on her head and made her queen instead of Vashti. The king gave a great banquet for all his officials and courtiers, the banquet of Esther. He proclaimed a remission of taxes for the provinces and distributed gifts as befits a king. When the young women were assembled a second time, Mordecai sat in the palace gate. But Esther still did not reveal her kindred or her people, as Mordecai had instructed her. For Esther obeyed Mordecai's bidding, as she had done when she was under his tutelage. At that time, when Mordecai was sitting in the palace gate, Bigthan and Teresh, 2 of the king's eunuchs who guarded the threshold, became angry and plotted to do away with King Ahasuerus. Mordecai learned of it and told it to Queen Esther, and Esther reported it to the king in Mordecai's name. The matter was investigated and found to be so, and the 2 were impaled on stakes. This was recorded in the book of Annals at the insistence of the king.
All right, we have Damian Timms for chapter 3. This is our executive director. We make everybody participate.
I love you people, I really do. Sometime afterward, King Ahasuerus promoted Haman Now that's a reaction. Son of Hammedatha the Agagite, he advanced him and seated him higher than any of his fellow officials. All the king's courtiers in the palace gate knelt and bowed low to Haman. I'm so tickled. For such was the king's order concerning him. But Mordecai would not kneel or bow low. Then the king's courtiers who were in the palace gate said to Mordecai, "Why do you disobey the king's order?" When they spoke to him day after day and he would not listen to them, they told Haman, in order to see whether Mordecai's resolve would prevail, for he had explained to them that he was a Jew. When Haman saw that Mordecai would not kneel or bow low to him, Haman was filled with rage. But he disdained to lay hands on Mordecai alone, having been told who Mordecai's people were. Haman plotted to do away with all the Jews, Mordecai's people, throughout the kingdom of Ahasuerus. In the first month, that is, the month of Nisan, in the 12th year of King Ahasuerus, Pur, which means the lot, was cast before Haman concerning every day and every month, until it fell on the 12th month, that is, the month of Adar. Haman then said to King Ahasuerus, "There is a certain people scattered and dispersed amongst the other peoples in all the provinces of your realm, whose laws are different from those of any other people, and who do not obey the king's laws. And it is not in your majesty's interest to tolerate them. If it please your majesty, let an edict be drawn for their destruction, and I will pay 10,000 talents of silver to the stewards for deposit in the royal treasury." Thereupon the king removed his signet ring from his hand and gave it to Haman, son of Hammedatha the Agagite, the foe of the Jews. And the king said, "The money and the people are yours to do with as you see fit." On the 13th day of the first month, the king's scribes were summoned, and a decree was issued, as Haman directed to the king's satraps, to the governors of every province, and to the officials of every people, to every province in its own script, and to every people in their own language. The orders were issued in the name of King Ahasuerus and sealed with the king's signet. Accordingly, written instructions were dispatched by couriers to all the king's provinces to destroy, massacre, and exterminate all the Jews, young and old, children and women, on a single day, on the 13th day of the 12th month, that is the month of Adar, and to plunder their possessions. The text of the document was to the effect that a law should be proclaimed in every single province. It was to be publicly displayed to all of the peoples, so that they might be ready for that day. The couriers went out post haste on the royal mission, and the decree was proclaimed in the fortress Shushan. The king and Haman sat down to feast, but the city of Shushan was dumbfounded.
Thank you, Damien. Next, we have Alice Lenz with chapter 4. Today's Megillah reading brought to you by the Lenz family.
When Mordecai learned all about all that had happened, Mordecai tore his clothes and put on sackcloth and ash. He went through the city crying out loud and bitterly until he came in front of the palace gate, for one could not enter the palace gate wearing sackcloth. Also, in every province that the king's command had decree reached, there was great mourning among the Jews. with fasting, weeping, and wailing, and everybody laid in sackcloth and ashes. When Esther's maid and eunuchs came and informed her, the queen was greatly agitated. She sent clothes for Mordecai to wear so that he might take off his satin cloth, but he refused. Thereupon Esther summoned Hatshepsut, one of the eunuchs whom the king had appointed to serve her, and sent him to Mordecai to learn the why and wherefore of it all. Hatshepsut went out to Mordecai in the city square in front of the palace gate. And Mordecai told him all that had happened to him and all about the money that Haman had offered to pay into the royal treasury for the desecration of the Jews. He also had given him the written text of law and had been proclaiming in Shushan for the destruction. He bladed him to show it to Esther and inform her the charge her to go to the king to appeal to him and plead with him for her people. When Hatshepsut came to deliver Mordecai's message to Esther, Esther told Hatshepsut to take back Mordecai and the following reply. All the king's courtiers and the people of the king's province know what if any person, man or woman, enters the king's presence, the intruder court, providence in the inner court without having been summoned there, is but one law for him, that he will be put to death, only if the king extends the golden scepter to him. May he live. Now, I have not been summoned to visit the king for the last 30 days. When Mordecai was told what Esther had said, Mordecai had his message delivered to Esther. Do not imagine that of you. Of all the Jews will escape with your life by being in the king's palace. On the contrary, if you keep silent in this crisis, relief and delivery will come to the Jews from another quarter, while you and your father's house will perish. And who knows, perhaps you have to attend the royal procession for you just at such a crisis. When Esther sent back this answer to Mordecai, go, assemble all the Jews who live in Hashun and fast in my behalf. Do not eat or drink for 3 days, night or day, and I and my maids will observe the same fast. And then I shall go to the king through its courtier to the law, and if I am to perish, I shall perish. So Mordecai went about the city and did just as Esther had commanded him.
Ooh, thank you, Alice. That was a big one. For chapter 5, I invite up Sarah Glass, another staff member pressed into duty. All right.
On the third day, Esther put on her royal apparel and stood in the inner court of the king's palace, facing the king's palace, while the king was sitting on his royal throne in the throne room facing the entrance of the palace. As soon as the king saw Queen Esther standing in the court, she won his favor. The king extended to Esther the golden scepter which he had in his hand, and Esther approached it and touched the tip of the scepter. "What troubles you, Queen Esther?" the king asked her. "And what is your request? Even to half the kingdom it shall be granted to you." "If it please your majesty," Esther replied, "let your majesty and Haman come today to the feast that I have prepared for him." The king commanded, "Tell Haman to hurry and do Esther's bidding." So the king and Haman came to the feast that Esther had prepared. At the wine feast, the king asked Esther, "What is your wish? It shall be granted to you. What is your request? Even to half the kingdom it shall be fulfilled." "My wish," replied Esther. "My request? If your majesty will do me the favor, if it pleases your majesty, to grant my wish and accede to my request, let your majesty and Haman come to the feast which I will prepare for them, and tomorrow I will do your majesty's bidding." So that day Haman went out happy and lighthearted. But when Haman saw Mordecai, in the palace gate, and Mordecai did not rise or stir on his account, Haman was filled with rage at him. Nevertheless, Haman controlled himself and he went home. He sent for his friends and his wife Zeresh. And Haman told them about his great wealth and his many sons, and all about how the king had promised him and advanced him above all the officials and the king's courtiers. "What is more," said Haman, "Queen Esther gave a feast, and besides the king, she did not have anyone but me, and tomorrow too I am invited by her along with the king. Yet all of this means nothing to me, even every time I see that Jew Mordecai sitting in the palace gate." And then his wife Zeresh and all his friends said to him, "Let a stake, not the delicious kind, the sharp kind, be put up 50 cubits high, and in the morning ask the king to have Mordecai impaled on it. Then you can go gaily with the king to the feast." The proposal pleased Haman, and he had the stake put up.
Thank you, Sarah. Joel Critchever up next with chapter 6.
That night, sleep deserted the king. He ordered the book of records, put anybody to sleep, the annals to be brought, and it was read to the king. There it was found written that Mordecai had denounced Bigthana and Teresh, two of the king's eunuchs who guarded the threshold, who had plotted to do away with King Ahasuerus. What honor or advancement has been conferred on Mordecai? For this, the king inquired. Nothing at all has been done for him, replied the king's servants who were in attendance on him. Who is in the court? The king asked. For Haman had just entered the outer court of the royal palace to speak to the king about having Mordecai impaled on the stake he had prepared for him. It is Haman standing in the court. The king's servants answered him. Let him enter, said the king. Haman entered, and the king asked him, what should be done for a man whom the king desires to honor? Haman said to himself, whom would the king desire to honor more than me? So Haman said to the king, for the man whom the king desires to honor, let royal garb which the king has worn be brought, and a horse on which the king has ridden on, and whose hand a royal diadem has been set. And let the attire and the horse be put in the charge of one of the king's noble courtiers, and let the man whom the king desires to honor be attired and paraded on the horse through the city square, while they proclaimed before him, this is what is done for the man whom the king desires to honor. Quick then, said the king to Haman, get the garb and the horse, as you have said, and do this to Mordecai, the Jew who sits in the king's gate. Omit nothing of all you have proposed. So Haman took the garb and the horse and arrayed Mordecai and paraded him through the city square. And he proclaimed before him, this is what is done for the man whom the king desires to honor. Then Mordecai returned to the king's gate, while Haman hurried home, his head covered in mourning. There Haman told his wife Zeresh and all his friends everything that had befallen him. His advisors and his wife Zeresh said to him, if Mordecai, before whom you have begun to fall, is of Jewish stock, you will not overcome him. You will fall before him to your ruin. While they were still speaking with him, the king's eunuchs arrived and hurriedly brought Haman to the banquet which Esther had prepared.
Ooh, I wonder what's going to happen at the banquet. Thank you, Joel. All right, this is a long process, so we're going to have a 7th inning stretch before we read the last chapter. So stand up, if it makes sense for your body, and just do a little stretch. Oh, we're going to do a song together. I'm going to very quickly teach you the actions. I'm going to do a grapevine. If you want to, you can just step side by side. The words are on the screen. Repeat after me. Mishe nichnas. Adar. Marbin. Basimcha. That's it. Now, here's how it's going to go. We're going to go Mishe, 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 Nichnas Adar. And that's going to repeat. And we're going to go ay, ay, ay. Just imagine you're in Fiddler on the Roof. Ay, ay, ay. Mishe, Nichnas Adar, Marbin, Besimcha. All right. Let's just do, you'll follow me, it'll be fine. 2, 3, 4. Mishe, 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 Nichnas Adar. That repeats. Mishe, 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 Nichnas Adar. Ay, ay, ay. Mishe, Nichnas Adar. Marbin Besimcha. That repeats. Mishe, Nichnas Adar. Marbin Besimcha. Now that you know, we're going to do a little faster. Mishe, 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 Nichnas Adar. Again. Mishe, 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 Nichnas Adar. Hey, hey, hey. Mishe, Nichnas Adar. Marbin Besimcha. Mishe, Nichnas Adar. Big finish. Marbin Besimcha. Perfect. You may be seated. It is my pleasure to invite up Carol Duchek for Chapter 7. Dun, dun, dun.
That's good. So the king and Haman came to feast with Queen Esther. On the second day, the king again asked Esther at the wine feast, "What is your wish, Queen Esther?" "It shall be granted you. And what is your request? Even to half the kingdom, it shall be fulfilled." Queen Esther replied, "If your majesty will do me the favor, and if it pleases your majesty, let my life be granted me as my wish and my people as my request. For we have been sold, my people and I, to be destroyed, massacred, and exterminated. Had we only been sold as bondmen and bondwomen, I would have kept silent, for the adversary is not worthy of the king's trouble." Thereupon King Ahasuerus demanded of Queen Esther, "Who is he? And where is he who dared to do this?" "The adversary and enemy," replied Esther, is this evil Haman. And Haman cringed in terror before the king and the queen. The king, in his fury, left the wine feast for the palace garden, while Haman remained to plead with Queen Esther for his life. For he saw that the king had resolved to destroy him. When the king returned from the palace garden to the banquet room, Haman was lying prostrate on the couch on which Esther reclined. "Does he mean," cried the king, "to ravage the queen in my own palace?" No sooner did these words leave the king's lips than Haman's face was covered. Then Harbonah, one of the eunuchs in attendance on the king, said, "What is more, a stake is standing at Haman's house, 50 cubits high, which Haman made for Mordecai, the man whose word saved the king. Impale him on it, the king ordered. So they impaled Haman on the stake which he had put up for Mordecai, and the king's fury abated.
Our penultimate chapter, chapter 8, is a family affair. Michael and Evan Sublet. I know it says Evan and Michael, but really they said they're going to do it the other way.
All right, you want to go first?
That very day, King
Ahasuerus.
Ahasuerus gave the property of Haman the enemy of the Jews to Queen Esther. Mordecai presented himself to the king, for Esther had revealed how he was related to her. The king slipped off his ring, which he had taken from Haman, and gave it to Mordecai.
Yay!
But Esther put Mordecai in charge of Haman's property.
Boo! And Esther spoke to the king again, falling at his feet and weeping, and beseeching him to avert the evil plotted by Haman, the Agagite, against the Jews. The king extended his golden scepter to Esther.
You go, girl!
And Esther
You go, girl!
arose and stood before the king. If it pleases your majesty, she said, and if I've won your favor, and the proposal seems right to your majesty, and if I'm pleasing to you, let dispatches be written, countermanding those which were written by Haman, son of Hammedatha the Agagite, employing his plot to annihilate the Jews through the king's provinces. For how can I bear to see the disaster which will befall my people, and how can I bear to see the destruction of my kindred? Want to go there? Right here.
Then King Ahasuerus said to Queen Esther and Mordecai,
You go, girl! Yay!
the Jew, I have given Haman's property I have to Esther, and he has been impaled on the stake for scheming against the Jews. And may you further write with regard to the Jews as you see fit. Write it in the king's name and seal it with the king's signet. For the edict has been written in the king's name and sealed with the king's signet, may not be revoked.
Good job. So the king's scribes were summoned at the time on the 23rd day of the third month, that is the month of Sivan, and letters were written at Mordecai's direction to the Jews and the satraps, the governors, and the officials of the 127 provinces from India to Ethiopia, to every province in its own script and every people in its own language, and to the Jews in their own script and language. He had written them in the name of King Ahasuerus and sealed the king's signet. Letters were dispatched by mounted couriers riding steeds used in the king's service, bred of the royal stud. To this effect, the king has permitted the Jews of every city to assemble and fight for their lives. If any people or province attacks them, they may destroy, massacre, exterminate its armed forces together with women and children and plunder their possessions. On a single day in all the provinces of King Ahasuerus, namely on the 13th day of the 12th month, that is the month of Adar. Go ahead. Want to continue? Right here.
The text of the document was to be issued as law in every single province. It was to be publicly displayed to all the peoples, so that the Jews should be ready for that day to avenge themselves on their enemies. The couriers, mounted on royal steeds, went out in urgent haste at the king's command, and the decree was proclaimed at Fortress Shoshan.
Mordecai.
Yeah!
left the king's presence in royal robes of blue and white, and the magnificent crown of gold, and a mantle of fine linen and purple wool. And the city of Shushan rang with joyous cries. The Jews enjoyed light and gladness and happiness and honor. And in every province and every city, when the king's command and decree arrived, there was gladness and joy among the Jews, a feast and a holiday. And many of the people of the land professed to be Jews, for fear of the Jews had fallen upon them.
All righty, thank you very much. Lisa, come on up. Lisa and I are going to close this out. Chapter 9. And so on the 13th day of the 12th month, that is the month of Adar, when the king's command and decree were to be executed, the very day on which the enemies of the Jews had expected to get them in their power, the opposite happened, and the Jews got their enemies in their power. Woohoo! Now this next bit we like to gloss over because it's not very nice, and we don't like to think about the Jews rising up and doing to others what they were going to do to them, so I'm going to summarize it. The king gave permission for the Jews to take the offensive for 2 days, and they did. And they were very, very, very successful. And they also impaled Haman's 10 sons. Okay, take it away.
That was on the 13th day of the month of Adar. And they rested on the 14th day and made it a day of feasting and merrymaking. But the Jews in Shushan mustered on both the 13th and the 14th days, and so they rested on the 15th and made it a day of feasting and merrymaking. That is why village Jews who live in unwalled towns observe the 14th day of the month of Adar and make it a day of merrymaking and feasting, and as a holiday, an occasion for sending gifts to one another. Mordecai recorded these events, and he sent dispatches to all the Jews throughout the provinces of King Ahasuerus, near and far, charging them to observe the 14th and the 15th days of Adar every year, the same days on which the Jews enjoyed relief from their foes, and the same month which had been transformed to them from one of grief and of mourning to one of festive joy. They were to observe them as days of feasting and merrymaking, and as an occasion for sending gifts to one another and presents to the poor. The Jews accordingly assumed as an obligation that which they had begun to practice, and which Mordecai prescribed for them. For Haman, son of Hammedatha the Agagite, the foe of all the Jews, had plotted to destroy the Jews and had cast Pur, that is the lot, with intent to crush and exterminate them. But when Esther came before the king, he commanded, with the promulgation of this decree, let the evil plot which he devised against the Jews recoil on his own head. So they impaled him and his sons on the stake. For that reason, these days were named Purim, after the Pur. In view, then, of all of the instructions in the said letter and of what they had experienced in the matter and what had befallen them, the Jews undertook and irrevocably obligated themselves and their descendants and all who might join them to observe these 2 days in the manner prescribed and at the proper time each year. Consequently, these days are recalled and observed in every generation, by every family, every province, and every city. And these days of Purim shall never cease among the Jews, and the memory of them shall never perish among their descendants. Then Queen Esther, daughter of Abihail, wrote a second letter of Purim for the purpose of confirming with full authority the aforementioned one of Mordecai, the Jew. Dispatches were sent to all the Jews in the 127 provinces of the realm of Ahasuerus with an ordinance of equity and honesty. These days of Purim shall be observed at their proper time as Mordecai, the Jew, and now Queen Esther has obligated them to do, and just as they have assumed for themselves and their descendants the obligation of the fasts and the lamentations. And Esther's ordinance validating these observances of Purim was recorded in a scroll.
Thank you. That's the chapters. Before we go sugar you up with Hamantash, and we're going to sing one more song together, I invite you to stand up And we're going to sing the Haman Calypso. It goes like this. Here's a story about Haman. Listen so you will understand. Haman wanted a certain thing, wanted to be just like a king. Haman, Haman, the Jews will never bow down. No, we won't. Haman, Haman, you'd better get out of town. Oh, now there was a special guy, a Jewish man called Mordecai. Haman told him to bow his head. Mordecai said this instead. Haman, Haman, the Jews will never bow down. No, we won't. Haman, Haman, you'd better get out of town. Now pretty Esther was the queen. She knew Haman was very mean. She told the king what he planned to do. The king said, Haman, you're all through. Haman, Haman, the Jews will never bow down. No, we won't. Haman, Haman, you'd better get up one more time. Haman, Haman, the Jews will never bow down. No, we won't. Haman, Haman, you'd better get out of town. You may be seated. Wonderful. I wanted to say thank you to our fabulous readers and to thank everyone who will be continuing the story in just a moment at Cafe Shushan. Let's give them a round of applause for bringing the story to life. Just a handful more thanks and 3 announcements before we start our costume parade. So if you don't have your costume number yet, you could go to the back to see Miss Sarah and get your number for the costume parade if you are a little one. For the rest of us, I wanted to say thank you to our, who do I want to say thank you to? Our Spielers. Thank you to our technical team, to our musicians, to the Beth Torah bakers who made some very fine hamantaschen, and especially to my fellow staff members. These things cannot happen without the help of all of them. Passover is just 4 weeks away. You're welcome. We have 2 opportunities to celebrate with Beth Torah. First, our Weiner Religious School Chocolate Seders on March 29th. It's once again open to the community. Please email Sarah if you would like to help prepare or run the Seder that day, and keep an eye out for RSVP links so we can be sure and have enough chocolate. Then our congregational second night Seder is the following Thursday. Woo! Please follow the link to learn more about the Seder, the JEX Seder meals, and the deadline for both. For those of you who don't remember, Jewish Experiences is creating meals, Seder meals. You can order from them. We will pick up for you and have it here for you for the second night Seder. And speaking of Passover, Dave Zucker, I have 4 questions for you. Do I have to be a certain age to attend casino night? Yes. Oh, good Lord. Let me try that. Speaking of Passover, which is known for the 4 questions, I have 4 questions for you.
Yes, no, maybe, and when we get home.
Do I?
That was only 3. Cereal.
Do I have to be a certain age to attend casino night?
You do. This is a 21 and over only fundraiser for Beth Torah.
Do I have to be present to win prizes?
Don't you get a present if you win a prize? The question's confusing. But no, you don't. There is also a raffle, so you can support from afar if you can't attend, and you'll be able to buy raffle tickets with your gambling winnings. So prepare to count cards and come prepared.
You just answered my next question, so we'll move right along to the 4th question.
Wait, what's the question?
I may be out of town. Can I just buy raffle tickets?
Oh, sure, why not?
Okay. Do you still need sponsors and volunteers?
We do. We are already underway. I am happy to announce that sponsors have outdone Margot Hellman and me. We are running the whole event. They have already approached us with over 50% of our sponsorship goal.
But that means 50% is left,
So we still have room for sponsors. We also are currently reaching out for donations for the raffle. So if you think you know somebody or a business that might want to support us, and that means supporting Beth Torah, our social justice work, our religious school, all of this and what we do in the community, send an email to the link that's on the website and we will get someone hooked up so we can make sure that we're not asking like the same business 3 and 4 times, unless it's different people and they all give to us, that's okay too. But so yeah, we would love your help. Thank you very much.
Yep, okay. All right, so here is how the costume parade is going to work. We're going to take the kids around the sanctuary. They've each got a number. On your way out, after we complete a full circuit, there are cups with a matching number. You'll get a ticket, that's how you vote. A ticket in a cup is a vote for that kid. And then you can go out. We will announce the winner of the costume contest after the Purim spiel. Once you go out, get your food, get your hot dog, get your chips, your potato salad, take a seat, and shortly thereafter we will begin our Purim spiel, which is a parody of A Christmas Carol and a delight. All right, kids, are you ready? If I can have you all up here with me for the parade. We're gonna start right here. We're gonna have musicians when you're ready. Are we ready? What's your number?
Oh, it fell off. It was
3, 6, 1, 7, 4, because why on earth would they be in order? All right, go get your hot dogs. We'll be starting the next show in just about 10 minutes.